The following program is sponsored by Friends of Life Outreach International. Coming up, how do you navigate the heartache in your life when you can't control it or make sense of it?
I sometimes want to make a t-shirt that just says like happy, joyful, sad, crushed, and it's just all the same face. Like that was the church culture I was raised in. But what the really bright side of that is I was just taught again and again, whether or not I get there, whether or not I feel it today, whether it was a day where I lost focus or kept my eyes fixed on Jesus, I'm still in the palm of my Father's hand.
Welcome to Life Today. I'm Randy Robinson. Tammy Trent is with me. Good to have you here.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
And I am excited about today's guest. Many of you have seen my interviews online that I do every day. And several times now, I've had the privilege of interviewing Mike Novotny. He's a pastor at the Core up in Appleton, Wisconsin, and leads a ministry called Time of Grace. And I have personally been blessed by our conversations. And so we're excited to bring this to you today. He's got a book called When Life Hurts. And we've all been through it. And some of you are going through it right now. So we're glad you're with us. This is going to bless you. Great to see you in person, Mike.
Man, thanks so much for having me. It was snowing up in Wisconsin when I left, and you brought me to beautiful Texas, so thank you for making life hurt a little bit less.
Be careful or we will keep you. just warning. No, but this, when life hurts, this is a serious topic. It's a difficult thing for a lot of people. Is this something you've encountered as you've ministered a lot?
Yeah, with our ministry, we try to produce some resource, normally a book every single month. So 12 months, 12 books, and what do you think was the most requested book of the year?
Definitely.
Was this one.
Yeah.
So it's not about a tough topic. It's not about a book of the Bible. The one thing that seems to resonate with the most people in the church, who would have thought that this life is hard?
Yeah.
Suffering sooner or later gets you. Jesus wasn't joking when he said, in this world you will have trouble.
Right.
So yeah, that's kind of where this came out of. I've been spared so far most personal pain, but I minister at a church of people who've been through all of it, like many people watching today.
Yeah, and I think, Mike, that there are so many people that are suffering and that are stuck and that don't know how to navigate through that.
Yes.
People of faith, people that don't have faith.
Yeah.
I think that's universal of, I am suffering. Where is God in my suffering?
Yes.
Am I ever going to get through this to the other side? And if you tell me I am, Pastor, how do I do it then?
Yeah, this book is really exploring the Old Testament book of Job. And when I think of Job, I think of this phrase that every one of us, you, me, everyone watching at home, the crew, every one of us has a personal theology of suffering. And by that I mean, every one of us, whether we verbalize this or not, think, well, God can allow up to here, but not there. And sure, God can use stuff to teach me even hard things, and it can last about this long, but not that long. And God can take some things away. I see his fatherly wisdom, but not these two things. And so, you know, in the book of Job, Job kind of has a theology of suffering. His wife, I think, has a poor theology of suffering. His friends who show up have their own theology of suffering. Well, this is because you did something wrong. And the book is really about exploring how different people with different theologies of suffering get through hard times. It has one of the most interesting, didn't see that coming endings in the Bible of any single book, when God shows up and gives a good theology of suffering. And that's actually my prayer as I was showing up today, that, you know, everyone who's watching at home would think, what do I think about pain?
Right.
To what point would I give God the right that I would worship him even if blank? Because whether you're going to get through this life holding on to Jesus with peace and joy and purpose and hope, which is a huge part of suffering,
Yes.
comes to that point of like, what do I have a biblical belief about pain and suffering, or have I just invented it because I wanted it to be true?
Exactly.
Let's dice that out a little bit. Before we get to what the biblical view of suffering is, what are some of the common views that are wrong? You mentioned one of them, but
Yes.
I think there's several, and we'll find ourselves in some of these if we're not careful.
Yeah. I think the two most common views are, when suffering happens, either I'm bad or God is bad.
Yes.
So Job's friends, when they showed up, they have this fierce argument because they think good things happen to good people and bad things happen to bad people. And it's not crazy. There's a kernel of truth in there. The Proverbs talk so much about the path of the righteous will lead to blessing. And if you're an angry, hothead, greedy, immoral person, you'll bring destruction. And so they jump to this conclusion, well, Job, if all these bad things happen, you must have been hiding something really bad, which sparks the argument. The other one, which Job doesn't start there, but he gets there when his pain becomes chronic and long-lasting, is, God, you better answer for this kind of pain. You owe me an explanation. If I didn't have to bury one of my children, but all of them, and if I didn't just get a little rash that went away after I went to my doctor, but I'm sitting with scraping my body with a shard of pottery. So, God, maybe you're not as good as I thought. And there's like this tightrope, I think, between those two theologies of suffering. When life hurts, either I'm bad, God must be mad at me, or maybe God isn't as good as I used to believe when days were brighter.
How do we get in the middle?
Right.
Yes, great question.
Yeah.
Can I tell you a story first?
Please.
So I said that I've been spared a lot of suffering, but my parents haven't. So I don't remember it. I was 1 year old, 1981, and my younger brother James was born. He was really sick. So my mom prayed. My dad didn't go to church at that time. He had kind of stepped away from organized religion. My mom's bringing me and my older brother to church, and James is born. He's sick, and he doesn't get better. All right, so 6 weeks old, he passes away. And by the sheer grace of God, what is the first thing my mom does? She runs to Jesus. She calls her pastor. I think that was the first phone call she made. So she had a place, and I think of how much of my life, I just grew up hearing the gospel of Jesus every single Sunday. I'm a pastor now and a writer because of my mother. And I think if she would have done what so many people do in that situation, well, God must be bad. How can I follow a God who lets me hurt like this? But I'm the fruit of the faithful, orthodox theology that my mom had with pain. And so, yeah, I think of my mom. She would always say, I don't know, you became a pastor. I'm not a great Christian. I'm like, oh my goodness, Mom. Like, the fact that you just kept your eyes and your thoughts fixed on Jesus, even when it hurt. The devil tried to say, well, Job only loves you because it's easy. It was not easy for my mom, and yet she still loved God. So the more I think about it, the more I'm grateful for it.
Yeah,
So taking the pain and suffering to God, right?
Yeah.
That's key. That's what I'm hearing.
Yes.
What would be some of the other maybe keys for someone who's in that middle of the suffering right now, who's struggling between the am I bad? Am I wrong? Is God bad? Is he,
Yeah, two things. One is what I call the messy necessity of community, and two, to really come to the biblical conclusion that God will probably not explain himself, but he will reveal himself.
That's a hard one.
Yeah.
Until he reveals himself, that can be a very hard one.
Yes. Yeah, so you read the book of Job, 35 chapters, Job, they're saying, you're bad. And he said, I'm not God's, I wish I could bring God to court. So he would have to, I could ask him some questions. And then God walks in the court, right? This is how the book of Job ends. And I picture Job, he's got sores on his face, but I picture him wearing like a pinstripe suit. He's the attorney, and he's ready, and God's about to walk in. But God never makes it to the witness stand, because as soon as his glory steps through the door, Job instantly realizes his error. So it's kind of Bible nerdy, but God shows up, I think, in chapter 38, and he breaks into this speech, and I circled them in the question marks in my Bible. He asked Job 77 straight questions.
Wow. It's
like Job was ready to be the accusing attorney, and I picture him just like stumbling back into the witness stand, and like God's like, okay, all right, let me ask you some questions. Where were you when or if you know so much about the way the universe works, tell me 77 questions. Job knows the answer to?
None.
None of
them.
And the book ends, Job repents, he's restored in his relationship with God, and what is so fascinating to me is God never once tells him why. Wow. He just reveals who.
We so often want to know why.
Yes.
I have asked God.
Yes.
So many times. And I think that there are so many people today that are hurting, that all they can say, Mike, is, why?
Yeah.
God, why? I've done everything right. I followed you, I've done everything right, and I don't know why, and I don't know how to move past this. And you're right, we either feel like God is for us or we feel abandoned.
Yeah.
And I've had that question so many times sent to me of like, I feel abandoned. How do I get past this? How do I find joy again? I'm just stuck in all of this. And why would God not give us answers? You talk about the answer and the reveal.
Yeah.
Why would he hold back that answer, in your opinion, or in your study?
Sure.
That he would find that to be good for me, or you, or Randy, or anybody to say, I'm going to hold this back. I don't want them to know all the answers.
Yeah. Who has known the mind of the Lord, and who has been his counselor? Deuteronomy 29:29, the hidden things belong to God. Why did God let my little brother die? I don't know. And I can pound on the locked door of heaven, demanding that answer until I'm bitter. Or I can say, I don't know why. There's no secret page in the back of the Bible. There's no code in the Old Testament. It's not in Revelation somewhere if we figure that out.
Yeah.
What do we find in the pages of Scripture, though, is not why, but this constant message of who.
Right.
That if I have a father who needed nothing from me, he was not lonely or unhappy in heaven, and if there's a Jesus who just wasn't like insecure and needing worship, he was fine, and yet he came and sacrificed everything.
Yes.
Like, to me, the cross of Jesus is the definitive who of human history.
Yeah.
Like, there's no fine print of why bad things have happened to you in your life, but there is a who.
That's right.
A God who is so glorious that I picture Jesus walking through the doors when you and the people you've ministered to have all those questions, and suddenly you stop asking.
Yeah.
And you say, you don't have to speak. I forgot.
Yes.
I forgot how good you are.
Yes.
I forgot how much love you have for me.
Amen.
I
Yes.
doubted it, and then I see the wounds in your
Yes.
hands, and it's like, okay, what was I thinking?
Yes.
What was I thinking? No,
Absolutely.
You're absolutely worthy of all of it.
Yeah, and I mean, I feel absolutely I've come to that place in my life, and I did early on as well, even in my own journey of pain and suffering, is that I would never know the full answers to a lot of these questions that I had. So I could either spend the rest of my life asking God constantly for the answer, or I could spend the rest of my life knowing who he is in my life. And so what do we do with this now?
Yeah.
What do I do with this pain now? What do I do with the suffering? And as I learn from it, then we will learn to comfort somebody else and help them navigate through their own suffering.
Yeah, it's well said. Maybe a great section of Scripture, if you don't want to read the whole book of Job, Romans 8, just has that's the chapter with, in all things, God works for the good of those who love him. Or Paul's insane statement, our present sufferings are not worth comparing with the glory that will be revealed.
Yeah.
Sometimes, that can be a way that your pain leads you into a greater intimacy with God. If I'm going through something that's just agonizing, or you're battling depression, or you've lost your sister or your father, or you're struggling with fertility, you go through the divorce, if it hurts so much and that promise is true, how good must glory be?
Yes.
If Paul's like, it's not even worth comparing. Like, that mountain that you thought of pain, like that was a speck of dust compared to the eternal pleasure of being in God's presence.
It's changing your perspective also, making a choice to change that perspective to this, or from this to that.
Exactly.
The eternal.
Exactly.
I think that helps in what has been a struggle for me. And whether it's you're looking at the book of Job, you wonder, well, what did his wife and kids do to deserve that, right? Yeah, God restored Job, but didn't do his wife and kids much good, or, my sister, she didn't deserve, cancer and not seeing her kids get married. Tammy didn't deserve to lose her husband, in an accident. Your infant brother didn't deserve.
Sure.
Do we just struggle with our perspective and our view because of where we're at in a fallen world?
Yes.
Is that really the key to getting over some of these hurdles?
Yeah, this is going to sound insensitive, like a doctor with a scalpel, but if God was giving all of us what we deserve, it would be so much worse.
Yeah.
I mean, if the wages of sin is death, Romans 6, if the soul who sins is the one who should die, then what do I deserve from God?
Right.
Mental health struggles or relationship problems or a credit card debt? Oh my goodness, I deserve nothing from him. And so if you want to go down the path, I mean, I think that's the bedrock of the theology of suffering. I deserve nothing from God, and yet he has given me eternity through his son. Like, okay, we're good. If this tiny little thing that we call life, whether it's the best or the worst or somewhere in between, it's like, once at our church, I bought a 1,000-foot long rope from Amazon. And I started in the parking lot so people would drive their cars and like, what is it? It's like, did they not clean up before church? And it goes through the front doors and past the coffee and through the lobby and through the front doors. It weaved through the chairs. And then up on stage, the end of it was a 1-inch piece of black tape. I think I stole this from some other pastor.
Francis Chan. Francis Chan.
Yes, that's it. And it was so golden because I held it up. I'm like, look, life. It might be hard. It might be brutal, actually. It might make you cry and break your heart. But man, life goes fast, and we get through it one day at a time by the grace and compassion of God, and then unspeakable happiness begins.
Yes, and I think what you're saying there, how it relates to me and how it might relate to somebody on the other side today, is that you'll get there. Yes. Like, it's a process. Like, it's not a matter of, like, I think when you go through the pain that we've gone through, the loss especially, like, you might be hurting. No, we are hurting. I am ripped apart, and God, I need you to put this back together, make sense of this. But I didn't feel all of the bubbly, joyful stuff initially. It became a process for me. And so for people that feel like, I don't know if I could see that perspective that Mike is talking about, I think that if you keep your mindset on that, you'll get there. Not somehow, but triumphantly, you'll get there. It might not be here today, but tomorrow's another day, and then another day, and another day. Keep your perspective on the things of God. Keep your perspective and your thoughts on heavenly thoughts. Because you're right, I deserve nothing, none of the goodness that God has given me through this. But I've gotten there. It's been 21 years for me, but I'm there, and I know it's been 10 years for you and your family as well, walking through this. So, it's taken us some time to get through this, and I still have questions, but I also know who.
It's so true. What I love so much, I was raised in kind of a theological church culture that it wasn't super great at emotions. I sometimes want to make a T-shirt that just says, like, happy, joyful, sad, crushed, and it's just all the same face. Like, that was the church culture I was raised in. But what the really bright side of that is, I was just taught again and again, I think this is so biblical, that whether or not I get there, whether or not I feel it today, whether it was a day where I lost focus or kept my eyes fixed on Jesus, I'm still in the palm of my Father's hand. Salvation is not by works, it's by grace and through faith. And so, by the grace of God, you turn that corner. If someone's listening today and they're not there, to me, the greatest comfort is the gospel says at the end of every day, I still got you.
Yes.
I'm sorry you didn't experience the peace today. I wanted that for you, God says. But even so, I'm getting you there.
Amen.
You're 1 centimeter closer to the end of that little 1 inch, and then the celebration's going to begin.
Amen.
That's that's encouraging, I think, if we get it. But it's not always easy. In fact, if you're watching right now and you're struggling with some suffering that you're going through or have gone through in the past, and you want to talk to somebody, we have a telephone number. It's a prayer line. We have people on the other end godly people who want to just pray with you. And they may not have all the answers, but we know the one who does. They will encourage you. So I would invite you just to call that number if you need someone to talk to. We do care about you.
Yes.
And I want you to see some other people who either are suffering or have just come out of some deep suffering. Because as, we go through our own suffering in life, one of the greatest blessings is to reach out and help others and give them the comfort, encouragement of Christ. There's a way for you to do this. I want you to watch this. And again, if you need to call the prayer line, but watch this and you'll see how you can be a comfort to someone else who has faced tremendous suffering.
So I'm here and I just walked the last 23 steps between these two countries that a child would take before they stepped off the cliff into a literal hell. I'm so mindful right now of the trickery of the devil and how deceitful he is and how much he lies to people to lure them into his pit. And friends, I can promise you, right across that border is the pit that young people never come home from. For children who have been lured, who've been made promises that they're going to have a better life, that they're going to get a job, that someone's going to marry them, that someone's going to love them, and they're all lies. Standing here, I realize how grateful I am that we have partners on both sides of this border to help prevent and to help rescue and to help restore children's lives. But the fact is, without your help, we can't keep those workers here. So we need you, and we need you right now. Your gift right now is the difference between someone who is rescued, someone who is prevented from being trafficked, or someone who is literally stepping off the cliff of no return.
John is so right. They are steps away from a changed life forever. But the problem is, it's not the life they've been promised. They have been lied to. Their lives have been torn apart. They're broken. They feel hopeless. They're shattered. I can't even imagine what that must feel like. I don't think I've ever been in a place like that in my life where I felt absolutely hopeless day after day after day. It's almost like I could hear their cries, crying out for help. I want to help be the answer to a prayer that somebody might be praying right now. And I'm going to ask you if you would consider joining us today. There's so many ways that we can do that together, Randy, as a ministry.
Yeah, and you're right. There's three parts to this, and I want you to hear this because they're all very important. As you saw with John there on the border, the prevention, you stop the horrible crimes happening against these young girls.
Yeah.
So reaching into these areas with education, with personnel on the borders, those people are there because you have given.
Exactly.
You have given and partnered with us in Rescue Life and made it possible to put those people there. Many of them have come out of trafficking themselves, so they know what to look for. So reaching into these areas is critical. Obviously, the rescue for those who have been trapped, those who are literally sometimes in cages. To me, Tammy, it's a picture of hell on earth.
No, it really is, Randy.
And so we have the opportunity to go in and say, here's heaven. We're going to get you out of that hell.
Yes.
And we're going to get to that third important part, which is restoring. Restoring oftentimes means giving people skills.
Yes.
Teaching them something that they can make money to support themselves with. But most importantly, in my opinion, it is giving them what the Bible calls a hope and a future.
Amen.
And Tammy, that's why I rejoice when the gospel is the underpinning of all this.
Yes,
it has to be that way.
Yeah, I mean, to me, that hope in a future is also changing their mind on their identity.
That's true.
Who God says they are. Yeah. They've been told so many lies, even in that they're worthless, that they're not seen, that there's no value to them. Yeah. So to be able to counsel them as well and teach them who they are in Christ. So I think that will change everything as well. But we do have people in place. We have some incredible safe houses where we will begin to help restore their lives back to normalcy, give them their childhood back again. And right now, we've been given an incredible opportunity, Randy. We have some friends of the ministry that have come together and that have given a $320,000 match, which means if you today can give $64, well, it will be matched with another $64. If you could give $128, well, then two will be rescued. And I can't imagine a better opportunity than right now to be able to rescue as many, to reach as many, and to restore as many of these young people as we possibly can.
Absolutely. It only happens, though, if you do something today.
Yeah,
So we're
yeah.
asking you to go online, go to the phone. This is the last week we'll be bringing this to you. We'll be doing it year-round, but this is the last week you'll see it on the air during this campaign. But we're asking you to make the best gift you can. Some of you can give a $1,280 gift, and as Tammy pointed out, with the matching gift, that doubles the number of people that are reached. It would reach 20 people. There's no price tag on hope and a future and restoration and the love of God. But it does take us coming together and each doing something. So we're asking you to go online, give the best gift you can, and let's reach out with the love of God and rescue as many lives as we can.
Innocent children and young people longing to be loved and cared for are being abducted and sold at the hands of violent predators, forced into the evil industry of human trafficking. Through Mission Rescue Life, you can reach out to warn children who are at risk for sex trafficking, rescue those already enslaved, and restore young lives and give them a future. With a generous $320,000 matching gift, now your gift of $128 to help reach, rescue, or restore one child can be doubled to help 2 children. Your $64 gift will be matched to help save one child from the horrors of human trafficking. And a $32 Mission Rescue gift will be doubled to $64. With your gift today, we'll send you Believe This, Not That, featuring a promise from heaven for every need on earth. This book is a resource every believer should have when facing discouragement, pain, fear, or the vast array of negative thoughts that attack all believers. With your gift of $128 or more, you'll receive Experiencing Israel by Tony Evans. Discover the Holy Land like never before and view stunning scenes in spectacular full-color photography. Also, find practical applications that bring the world of the Bible into your life today. Finally, please consider a gift of $1,280, which will now help save 20 children, and you may receive our inspiring bronze sculpture, Consider the Birds. This is the last week. Please call, write, or make your gift online.
Thank you, those of you who are calling or going online. You are making a big difference. This is the last week we will be bringing Rescue Life to you, so I pray that you will do something and do it now. And for those of you who want to follow up with our guest, Mike Novotny, you can go to his website. What's the URL for them to get the book and other resources?
Yeah, timeofgrace.org, where you can find this book on Job, suffering, and I hope this is an exaggeration. We have tried to cover every tough topic, and so you can find all those resources on timeofgrace.org.
Great. Thank you.
So great to have you here. Thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time on Life Today.
Growing up as children with no direction led to disaster for Jody and Billy Ballinger. Their miraculous story of redemption tomorrow. Life Today is made possible by the supporters of Life Outreach International. Your gift will be used exclusively for the exempt purposes of life. The ministry features specific outreaches as examples of the programs it supports and conducts. Gifts are considered to be without restriction as to use unless explicitly stipulated by the donor. The ministry is a member of the ECFA.